Welcome to another episode of Women Investing in Women. Robin and I have tremendous joy and pleasure week after week featuring women who have made a conscious decision to step into the arena and make an impact not just for themselves, but for other women. Lift up other women, celebrate other women, and have the vulnerability to lean in and ask other women to invest in them, lift themselves up, and help them succeed. This is one of those situations where as you go up, you pull another up. And that is truly what Robin and I not just want to celebrate, but inculcate and drive as a culture to help women move from a sense of scarcity to a sense of abundance. Because when we go to a place of abundance, there is so much further we can go and so much more we can do together. And you are going to absolutely love our guest today. Our conversation is going to be themed around financial empowerment and financial risk mitigation for women, why women need to understand this, and how women can be helped through this journey, and how we can make that happen. Take it away, Robin.
Okay, I am so very excited to introduce Amy Schmidt. I met Amy really not that long ago, last fall, the fall of 2023, at a women's retreat and conference. I was so impressed with her, and I was really excited to learn that she is in the world of insurance and women, specifically women in insurance. And I thought that was really fascinating because I know that I have made some good choices in that field. And I know that I have made some very bad choices in that field because of lack of knowledge and lack of good mentors and advisors. So at any rate, I am really glad to have Amy here. And so Amy, one of the things, first of all, the notion, I'd never before thought of the notion of women and insurance. I always just thought insurance was a big glump, I guess you can call it. But the notion to think about women specifically in the realm of insurance and risk mitigation and all of that. And so tell us what got you into this field. What is it about it relative to women and insurance that excites you and ignites you and motivates you?
Thank you. For me, coming out of the world of education into exploring what it's like to be an entrepreneur, I too have made some great choices, but I made a lot of bonehead decisions. So channeling my father there, bonehead decisions where either I was not given good advice or direction, or I just plugged my ears and then poo-poo, I'm not listening to you because I'm very stubborn. And I realized that I needed to do something for myself. And I am part of a wave of professionals who are leaving an industry, who are coming out of some hand-holding in many of the ways that we proceed in what we have for our benefits and such. And I realized I didn't have enough information, and I know other people don't. And then I thought, well, there are so many women in my age bracket who go through other transitions, and I don't want them to go through some of the same issues. Or if they did, I want to be able to find ways to help them recover. Insurance, I had the opportunity to learn about insurance and what it can do for your financial future and help mitigate taxes and other issues that come up with other types of financial preparedness. And I was, you know what, that's a good step in the right direction. And I have a path, where I'm going. And this is a step in the right direction, I believe, for myself. So life insurance came through, and my decision to focus on women uh, stems from the education world, where there are a lot of women out there who are in education and then are moving out. So there's a I want to say font. There's a huge group of women who will need this information. But I've also discovered while I'm working with clients and working with the folks who do actually have policies within my group, my agency, who give excuses and have expressed myths. What I know now are myths about insurance, and I wanted to try to dispel those myths and empower the women that I speak with to make decisions going to be best for themselves and for their families.
That is so fantastic what you're doing. And that is so right. Women are the 80 to 90% of people in education, especially K through 12, are women. Nursing and teaching are two female dominated professions, and both professions are seeing a massive exodus. So that's interesting that you're focusing there. What's coming up for me as you're talking is women traditionally in the United States historically did not have the ability to open bank accounts, have credit cards, manage finances. The laws were put in place to enable women towards the end of the 70s. And when actually opportunities were provided, it was mid 80s. So most of the people in the workforce today, women, were not raised by mothers who knew what this was about. So it was not something they were introduced to. And most women step into this only at a point of a marriage falling apart or something else happening. And so I'm loving the fact that you want to get people involved before a crisis happens. So connecting that to the myths you're hearing, I would be fascinated to hear, and I know the audience need to hear, what are those myths so that they realize they shouldn't subscribe to them either.
Well, one of them is my husband has a policy through work. We're fine. Or my husband deals with this, or my partner deals with that stuff. That to me is pretty scary because, again, it goes back to those laws that were in place, I remember working in retail when I was in high school and college and having to call on a credit card if Mrs. Jones was using Mr. Jones's credit card. And I thought how limiting and how socially embarrassing it is that we have to rely on a male to take care of ourselves and do our shopping. And and I didn't know at the time that women could not have their own bank account. That is awful. And I don't want I don't want us to ever regress to that. But there are still women who go, okay, I'm not handling that. And that whatever your financial or your family dynamics are, that's fine. I can't argue against that. And I can't necessarily push to change that, but I want to equip them with that information that, you know what, it may sound sad and morbid, but your spouse may not be here at any point. Your spouse may not be here, whether they're shuffled off this mortal coil or they decide that they no longer want to be in the relationship. And that does leave many women high and dry if they've not put themselves in a position to save and to get all of their ducks in a row. And when it comes to just relying on the spouse's work coverage or even your own work coverage, it's not enough. Yes, it is free or inexpensive, easy to get, especially if you do have health conditions that you may believe are limiting, but it's not always comprehensive or enough to cover mortgage, income, daycare, college tuition, your car payment. And we're told to think that for every, was it $50,000 of income, you should have about $1 million in life insurance just to take care of it. But also the work coverage isn't typically portable if you leave your job. And I want to stress that each parent needs his or her own policy to take care of it. And we can get to other parts of it later, but life insurance doesn't have to be about death. And also there are living benefits. And I think that lack of awareness is what also plays into the excuse making.
Yeah. This is really interesting. I would love to hear more of the other myths, but when you're talking about this first one, it's really a matter of women saying, whether you're in a partnership or not, that you need to take care of yourself. Granted, when you're in a good partnership, you're helping to care for each other. That's part of the benefits of being in a partnership, a marriage, and that you're helping to care for each other. But there's also the notion that we also need to take care of ourselves. And that whole, I know we talked in various corners, there's the notion of the Cinderella syndrome, the Disney princess syndrome, that someone is just going to come in and rescue me. And what's coming to mind is a children's book that I read to my children called The Paper Bag Princess, where she ultimately ended up taking care of herself. And so talk to us about your ideas and your notions, your feelings of women being able to take care of themselves, being able to look at what are my needs and what are some of the ways that I can fulfill those needs or find resources that can help me fulfill my needs.
Sure. I like to to just point out to women how much we do if we're in a relationship where we are a parent. Sometimes we're also the parent to our spouse. We sometimes inherit somebody else's kid as our as our partner. And I think about women being, if they are a stay-at-home mom, if they're not a breadwinner, well, think about all that you do for other people. You're a domestic engineer. You're the cat herder. You're the keeper of the snacks. You're the finder of the extra forks and the dirty socks. And you provide substantial support for your family that your spouse or partner would have to pay to outsource to somebody else if something happened to you. Not saying that your partner couldn't step up, but that's a huge vacuum in that supporting of each other. And something along the lines of a life insurance payout could help out on the financial part of it, but empowering yourself or looking at what you already have here, what you already do, the decision makings that you have in place already. Tell me that you have that in there to make good decisions. And many women are responsible for the budget. They're the ones that, we know how much milk costs and how much cereal costs and a pound of beef. And we cut the coupons and we make our shopping lists. Well, we should be aware of what finances we have and what happens if somebody's not able to support that with an income. I'm hoping I'm answering the question all that right. So I kind of went down that little road there. But when we put blinders on or shove our thumbs in our ears or whatever to not allow ourselves to hear that empowerment, that really does limit us, and we can do so much more with that. I don't have a partner to miss an income. It's just me. I can ruin my own finances on my own, or I can improve them on my own. I don't need somebody else to do that, but I too need to consider what I have in place. Not just for, the death benefit so that my other family can take care of it, but also ways that I can accrue cash value or mitigate taxes in my retirement. And knowing that is so empowering.
Absolutely. And what you're saying and the traits and characteristics women bring from a marriage is identical to what women bring to the workplace.
Yes.
Research shows that women are happy being operators or completers of tasks. They don't want to understand financing and they don't want to understand strategy. Therefore, women rarely break that glass ceiling. To break that glass ceiling, they have to be strategists and financial strategists, not just business strategists, financial strategists. And so there is an entire movement around empowering women in those two spaces, but women resist it. I partner with another woman to bring these skill sets to professional women, but we find that they resist, right? And women forget that if I'm continuously in an operator role, that's part of the reason why I'm not getting respect, because I'm driving, I'm not planning, right? So how can we help women jump that threshold, keeping in mind there is a sense of fear associated? If I step into that role, especially in the West, I was not born and raised in the United States, so I was not raised to be a princess. I didn't grow up playing with dolls. I was not raised to believe that my success in life is snagging a handsome, rich man and keeping that marriage. So the definition of success for a American woman is all wrapped up in being docile, being supportive, being that perfect wife, and not standing up for herself or building herself up, because then that threatens the masculinity as how the girl is raised. How do we help women transcend that in this culture? Because there are cultures that don't do that.
I think that's a very good question. You brought up the term fear. I don't like to sell based upon fear, and I know that that can really trigger uh, someone taking notice of what you're doing. But I will touch upon that because fear and the emotion wrapped around your family is something that makes you perk up and think, okay, what can I do? Um, if you don't have a family, it's the fear for how am I going to take care of myself when I get older? And that's where I have been on my for my own journey of that fear of holy moly, what am I going to do 30 years from now when I finally want to like just chill out and not have to work. Tapping into those emotions and pointing out what is at stake for not taking care of yourself. And I'm not talking just physically, obviously physically, I'm talking fiscally. And making women aware that it's more than just the death benefit. That is such a morbid and sad thing to think about. That's one of the myths as well, that life insurance is just talking about death, your spouse's death, your children's death. It's not. It's a way to help your children or your other loved ones, your beneficiaries, with their future finances. And it's not necessarily about a death benefit that they'll inherit, but it can also be used to create cash accumulation and to navigate some of those tricky tax issues we have when we get into retirement and have our retirement funds. And I'm not a tax professional, so I can't really speak to that. But if we can show that there are ways that insurance policies can be used for saving for college expenses or a first home down payment. There are life plans where there is cash value that you can borrow against. This can help your child get started on, if you were to take out a policy for your child. I have a client who's a 4-year-old and he pays $100 a month. That child is going to, if everything works out correctly, have $1 million by the time she wants to retire, whatever retirement will be, 60 something years from now. She will have money that she can also take out to take care of living expenses or long-term care expenses for when she's at that age. So I like to bring up those life milestones that mothers are thinking about. College, first car, wedding reception. Oh, how wonderful would it be to have some cash already accumulated to take care of that wedding reception that you want, to make that magical American princess beauty pageant wedding, down payment on a first home or emergencies. And often this is generally tax free. And so if we can turn it from being about death to being a retirement strategy where you have a source of liquidity. Well, we don't always necessarily think of liquidity. What happens if you need to get out of your house for whatever reason, or move, or start living on your own? Can you have access to that without any penalty? It doesn't necessarily happen with our 401ks and our retirement plans. It could be a vehicle for a wealth transfer.
Yeah.
Seamless,
It's interesting. You're listing a lot of these really interesting ideas. I think underneath all of them, women have to have a mindset of being able to try something or being able to research something, being able to explore something. So what is your experience with women and their mindset toward getting out of their comfort zone, taking care of some of these things, and their mindset toward I'm going to take action, or I'm at least going to find out about these things. Well, how do you deal? What is the mindset that you is if there's kind of a common mindset that you have to deal with or that you find and that you deal with, and in what are the things you use to help transition into a more proactive mindset?
I've noticed that women who are entrepreneurs, if they've talked about real estate, or if they have their own salon, those are women who are more curious about what they can do to protect their assets because they've had to do that for opening up their business and running their business. I haven't really had the same type of conversations in depth or other questions in depth from other women. They're like, okay, and they check off okay, this sounds good, this sounds good. Um, the best conversation I've had about insurance, and I mean, I will tell you, this has been a month of weekly meetings on just to figure out what is the best thing for her at this time, is a woman who is a nanny, and she's from another country. She has been in a situation where her now ex-husband of over a decade has still been manipulating her financially. And so she's in there. She's like, all right, so tell me about this. And I've done some research on that. She is so curious about it. But I also think the information could be very overwhelming. And there's a trust that I think women, I think to work with women, there's a trust that needs to be built that we're able to have those conversations and encourage the questions, encourage learning more about it from somebody that another person like them. And I think that's also where my background in education has I guess helped me have those conversations because I do teach and but I make it it's not like I'm saying dumb it down, but I make it more palatable and digestible and comfortable for someone to talk about those tough situations. What are they going to do for their child? What are they going to do for themselves? Oh, they have just been put through the ringer because of the lawyer fees and all of those things. And oh, they're also trying to run a business. Yes, let's talk about that. And I'm going to do my very best to make sure that what I put in place for you is appropriate for you. Um, I wish I had more to give on that topic because that is a very great question about what we can do to make sure that more women are going to be more curious about that. I don't
You
have any
touched
further.
on you touched on some very important elements there, Amy.
Mhm.
And to build up on that, there's a huge difference between having a understanding of money for transactional purposes and understanding and embracing a mindset of wealth.
Correct.
And that directly stems from our psychological relationship with wealth and how we define wealth. What are you seeing as a difference in the women who are getting it, processing it, and choosing to take care of themselves fiscally and mitigate their risks versus the women who are kind of still not getting it? They don't understand and they're afraid to take this step. It stems from their psychological frame of reference. What are you seeing? Because noticing that is the first step of helping them overcome it.
I think the conversation about contribution to what they're putting in place is something that needs to be had, and to help them understand that sure, we have life insurance premium, just like you have your auto premium, you have your health care premium, but that premium is, I think when we use the term contribution and understanding that they're contributing to something into the future and they can't necessarily see it right now. It's not like they're going to the grocery store and picking this up. And it's not like um, they're protecting against the financial risk of a physical loss. That has been, I think, a game changer when I do talk to women who just think, okay, well, I can only afford $50 a month for this, but I think I think I need X amount of money. Helping them understand that it's a contribution to the future. Just like if they have a 401k, how much can they contribute, and how much is going to be matched by their employer? Changing the language there, I think, has been helpful for some of the women I've spoken with. The nanny that I've spoken with, she gets it. She's like, okay, I know. I think of premium and I'm boxing. She's, I'm limiting myself, but I know right now with what I'm going through, I can't do it. But I know that if I'm able to contribute more, it's going to grow and it's going to be something positive for myself and for my beneficiaries, and not just something I have to have. I think there's also, we fed the fear of what happens if you're not there. You have a death benefit there for you. And then women are like, well, I mean, I guess I have to have it, and not seeing that it is a tool for protection against financial disaster, if we want to go with the fear theme. So yes, I think it does. It's a language that's used and an empowerment and helping them see that it's just much more than the fear. It's a positive thing. It's a positive thing to be able to, I mean, life insurance can be very inexpensive initially, and it can become so powerful as your income grows. If you get it when you're younger and you're just starting out in your business, you may be able to only contribute a certain amount, but as you move up and your salary increases, what could you do? Where could you go with that? And it's just one vehicle, and you can diversify. And I don't even have to complicate the conversation about the diversification of everything, but this is one simple, it's right here, it's easily accessible, and it does a world of good for yourself, your beneficiaries, and provide that peace of mind.
Can really see your passion and your enthusiasm about this and your genuine desire to help women understand these vehicles and be able to take care of themselves better. With every single guest, we always say the time just totally flies by. And here at the end of our conversation, we definitely want our guests to know how to get a hold of you. So if you can please tell us, how can people get a hold of you to learn more about you and about what you have to offer? And also, one last golden nugget that you'd like to share with anyone who watches this in the future.
Okay, well, I'll go about the golden nugget first. I really think that I think we need to kind of remove the blinders and remove those barriers of fear. I know that that's what's kept me behind, and it's what kept me in a career that, as much as I loved, was not feeding me. Um, that there is so much hope if you just listen and just get to know what else is out there. You don't have to be sold immediately. Just listen. Just ask somebody, build a relationship with them, and ask. I don't bite, and I'm definitely not kissing on the first date. I want to get to know you first before I figure out what it is that you knew, what you need to know, and meet you at that level, and then help you grow. So just ask. And that has been a great thing on my own personal journey. Just ask and ask for permission to learn, or learn even without that permission. So and know that we have so much now for us, and we can thank them, the women and the men who've come before us to really allow us to make those positive decisions and be in charge of our financial futures. Um, yeah. And as far as getting a hold of me, I do have I believe I have the LinkedIn is probably the best way to get a hold of me. I don't know if I need to put it in the chat, but there's a LinkedIn.
Don't worry, we will make sure when we release this episode, your LinkedIn
Okay.
is shared so that they'll all be able to get a hold of you.
Super.
Thank you so much, Amy. This has been an absolute delight and an important conversation to have. So thank you for bringing these insights and your experience to this conversation. And this has been a challenging notion, but an important conversation to have. And as women, it is a place we need to go no matter how challenging it is. And to our audience out there, don't let fear get in the way of a good thing. Fear becomes the root cause of all the negative baggage we end up carrying. Allow your inner curiosity to take control so that your fear is swept away and you truly find solutions for yourself and don't rely on an employer's provision of insurance, especially life insurance. What happens when you no longer have the job? You're going to be older and you won't be able to afford it. When you're young, the first day you start your job, the first day you get your salary, start your own insurance so that you own it. Nobody can take it away. Not a husband, not a life partner, not an employer. We get to choose if we're in charge or not. And it's a choice we make. And being in charge is about owning our own power. It's not about taking away somebody else's power. So step up, step into your own power, own your power, and give yourselves the options. Because men stay with women who give themselves options. Men respect women who can navigate this, and women who manage money are in a better relationship with themselves in their marriage and in society. So go for it. Go for it fearlessly.